noches, buenas tardes a todos. Ministro de Asuntos Exteriores de la Unión Europea y Cooperación, Ministra de Ciencia e Innovación, Embajadora de España ante el Reino de Suecia, queridos compatriotas, no os vemos a todos porque estáis por ahí en varios salones, pero os intuimos. En primer lugar, buenas tardes y nos alegra mucho poder veros. Gracias por venir hoy a esta recepción, a nuestra representación oficial aquí en Estocolmo. Sin duda, para la Reina y para mí es una magnífica oportunidad para saludaros y, sobre todo, expresaros nuestro afecto, nuestro apoyo a toda la colectividad española establecida aquí en el Reino de Suecia. Iniciamos, como sabéis, nuestra visita de Estado a Suecia y nos alegra, evidentemente, hacerlo en vuestra compañía. No es la primera vez que la Reina y yo visitamos este gran país, pero esta tiene indudablemente mayor relevancia y está cargada de mayor simbolismo, mayor significado. Ya en 2005 tuvimos la oportunidad de descubrir juntos esta ciudad, Estocolmo. En aquella ocasión no solo pudimos comprobar en persona el cariño que aquí existe por España, sino que además tuvimos el gran honor de inaugurar el Instituto Cervantes, del cual el director creo que estaba por aquí, le hemos saludado al llegar, que a través de la enseñanza de la lengua española representa uno de los pilares fundamentales de nuestra relación bilateral. Y en 2010 también tuvimos la alegría de venir a la boda de la princesa Victoria con el príncipe Daniel. Sin duda muchas cosas han cambiado desde aquel año y también lo ha hecho la colectividad española, que ha crecido tanto en número como en diversidad. Hoy estáis aquí representados muchos de los miles de españoles que habéis llegado desde entonces, siguiendo la senda marcada por otros durante décadas anteriores, movidos por circunstancias personales o profesionales. A todos vosotros, a los que lleváis más tiempo y a los que todavía estáis buscando, permitidme decirlo así, vuestro sitio en esta nueva tierra de acogida, quisiéramos trasladaros un mensaje de apoyo, pues representáis fuera de nuestras fronteras mucho de lo mejor de nuestro país. Tanto a nivel personal como profesional, cualquiera que sea el ámbito en el que desarrolláis vuestra actividad, sea la empresa, la investigación, la enseñanza, la ingeniería, la construcción, la salud y muchas más, tenemos la certeza de que demostráis no solo vuestra capacidad de trabajo y compromiso, sino también vuestro tesón, vuestro ingenio, además de una excelente formación. Muy especialmente quisiéramos desear nuestro ánimo a los que habéis emprendido este camino con familia y con hijos, conscientes del desafío que representa adaptarse a una nueva vida, a un nuevo entorno, que no es siempre fácil, aunque es verdad que las condiciones en Suecia son inmejorables, y lejos, evidentemente, de muchos seres queridos y, sobre todo, de todo lo que representa nuestro país. Queridos compatriotas, queremos que este viaje, muy anhelado y que finalmente, tras años de no poderlo realizar, comienza esta tarde, sirva para reafirmar una relación muy estrecha de amistad que une los dos reinos de Suecia y España, que si bien son geográficamente lejanos y distintos en muchas cosas, también son muy cercanos y similares en muchas otras, por cuanto nos enfrentamos al fin y al cabo a desafíos comunes, a tantos desafíos comunes que solamente podremos superar trabajando más unidos, especialmente en el seno de la Unión Europea. Siendo este nuestro primer viaje de Estado tras la pandemia, o aunque no haya terminado la pandemia, pero desde que empezó, no puedo dejar de referirme a la difícil situación que hemos atravesado todos los países y reiterar nuestra tristeza, nuestro pésame por tantas vidas perdidas. Suecia, como España, ha sufrido también las duras consecuencias de esta pandemia, pero sobre todo debemos mirar al futuro y hacerlo con esperanza, con confianza, reafirmando nuestro compromiso con la ciencia, con la cooperación internacional y con la solidaridad para hacer frente a los grandes problemas, especialmente en estos tiempos de pandemia. Y ante ella, sigamos alerta y avancemos con prudencia. Precisamente es esta apuesta decidida por la ciencia la que ha inspirado desde el inicio la preparación del viaje. Suecia es un referente mundial en innovación e investigación que nos debe servir de inspiración. A los muchos investigadores que estáis hoy aquí, representados a través de la AC, de la Asociación de Científicos Españoles en Suecia, quisiera expresaros también nuestra admiración por vuestro trabajo y compromiso, puesto que también a diario os convertís simbólicamente en embajadores de España. Por supuesto, tampoco podemos ignorar lo mucho que queda por hacer, y esto nos debe animar a intensificar nuestros esfuerzos, especialmente en el ámbito económico y comercial. Aunque España y Suecia mantienen buenas relaciones en este terreno, la dimensión de nuestros países y nuestras respectivas economías nos deben animar a estrechar aún más nuestros lazos. Por eso, este viaje de Estado tiene también un importante componente económico y deseamos que contribuya a impulsar una mayor presencia empresarial española en Suecia y un aumento de nuestros intercambios, siguiendo la senda marcada por las empresas españolas que ya están afincadas en este querido país. Por último, no quiero dejar de referirme a quienes lleváis muchos años dedicados, tanto en Suecia como en España, al fortalecimiento de nuestros lazos a través del idioma, mediante la traducción de numerosas obras, lo que ha servido sin duda para establecer una relación entre dos mundos literarios. Este trabajo esforzado y dedicado ha contribuido decididamente a ampliar el conocimiento mutuo y sentar las bases de la amistad entre nuestros dos pueblos. Nos sentimos muy agradecidos a los profesionales de la traducción y de la interpretación, porque en gran parte a ellos les debemos hoy la importancia y la pujanza del español en Suecia, convertido ya en la segunda lengua extranjera más estudiada en el país, solamente por detrás del inglés, que es obligatorio, y muy por delante de otros idiomas que han tenido tradicionalmente en Suecia un papel importante. Estoy seguro de que el turismo también, lógicamente, habrá influido positivamente en esta evolución. Pero no es suficiente con que en Suecia exista interés por nuestro idioma, que en gran parte responde al hecho de que miles de ciudadanos suecos tienen creciente arraigo en España, muchos de ellos incluso con segundas residencias. Debemos ser capaces de aprovechar esta fuerza para impulsar el conocimiento de nuestra cultura y patrimonio y para consolidar el conjunto de nuestra relación, algo que solo podremos lograr con la participación de un colectivo tan esencial como los profesores y todos aquellos vinculados a la enseñanza del español. Queridos compatriotas, quisiera terminar estas palabras transmitiéndoos con la Reina el apoyo de la Corona y la admiración que sentimos por todo lo que representáis, españoles en tierras lejanas, en circunstancias a veces exigentes y con grandes sacrificios, a veces solos, a veces con familia, pero mostrando siempre las fortalezas y los valores de nuestro país. Muchísimas gracias y ahora nos encantará poderos saludar un poco a todos paseando por los salones de la Embajada. Gracias.
Both? Please.
Thank you.
Then it will be lovely.
We need the media to go.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Queen and I are honored to welcome the King and Queen of Spain to Sweden. As you know, it's a busy time in our country right now with the forming of a new government. But here at the, Royal Palace, it is business as usual. We have, the Queen have looked forward very much to the Majesty's visit, which will confirm and promote the long-lasting and good relations between our two countries. Spain and Sweden share interests, values and priorities within many areas, not least when it comes to the importance of democracy, gender equality, and open, free and sustainable trade. Our countries work closely together in the European Union and are strongly engaged in upholding bilateral cooperation. In 2023, Sweden and Spain will play an important role in Europe through the presidencies. This visit takes place at a time where our societies are slowly reopening after a very difficult period due to COVID-19. It has been a challenging time at an individual, societal and global level. The Queen and I would like to offer our sincere condolence to the victims, the families and loved ones who have suffered in Spain. The pandemic has made us aware of how vulnerable our societies are. And while we continue to live with the pandemic and its efforts, it has become clear that we need to work together to tackle challenges and other emerging crises in the future. This year's extreme weather come to mind, not least the heat waves that affected Spain this summer. Such incidents and the alarming climate reports highlights to the need to rebuild our societies, to become more resilient. For that, we need new, innovative, sustainable solutions. There is a great potential in the closer cooperations between Spain and Sweden in the field of sustainability, digitalization, innovation. Swedish companies are eager to contribute to the rebuilding of our economies. And therefore, I'm glad to see such an interest from Spanish companies joining the Majesties in this visit. And it will increase the possibilities for even more future exchange between companies, authorities and an organization in our two countries. This state visit is an opportunity to further strengthen the friendship and cooperation between Spain and Sweden. Her Majesty and myself look forward to make the most out of it. So, welcome. So please, Majesty.
Thank you, Your Majesty. Buenos días, God dag, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, the Queen and I are very much looking forward to this visit to the Kingdom of Sweden, and for quite some time, actually. And we are very happy to be here finally. And of course, we are very grateful to their Majesties, King Carl Gustaf and Queen Sylvia, to the whole royal family, to the Swedish authorities, and the citizens of Stockholm, of course, for their warm and affectionate welcome. It is close to winter, but nevertheless, Stockholm has welcomed us with great weather. And we are conscious about the particular political moment in Swedish life, and we appreciate even more the effort to sustain this visit. Our visit to Sweden offers us, of course, an excellent opportunity to give a new impulse to our bilateral relations. Almost 4 decades since the last state visit of their Majesties to Spain. We therefore take on the torch and hope that our visit will serve to deepen even further our friendship between Spain and Sweden. The program of our visit has an outstanding scientific, innovation and business content, reflecting our common aspiration towards an economy based on knowledge, on science and innovation, and towards a society committed to a more just and sustainable progress. We will also promote language and culture as a vehicle to enhance mutual understanding and a genuine interest between our peoples. Thank you very much, Your Majesty, for your personal involvement of both of you and for this wonderful welcome that we've received in Stockholm and in Sweden. Thank you.
Hello. Hi. Down, please.
This is the women's gallery where we commemorate the women pioneers of our parliament, about ministry, the 100 years since the first election where women were allowed to take part in September 1921.
Sí, no, voy a hacer un planeta así, sin seguimiento.
It'll be very fun next year, and that would be a very, very interesting project. The normal debating order would be for a member to give his primary statement from the big rostrum with the big one.
Please, Your Majesty, we're just supposed to shake hands and,
Inside.
inside.
Look here, please. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
La carta.
His Excellency Mr. José Manuel Álvarez Bueno, Minister for Foreign Affairs, the European Union and International Cooperation. His Excellency Ms. Diana Morant Ricon, Minister for Science and Innovation. Mr. Jaime Alfonsín Alfonso, Head of the Royal Household. Her Excellency Mrs. Cristina La Torre Sancho, Ambassador of Spain to Sweden. Mrs. Diana Margarita Mendez Bertolo, Secretary of State for Trade. Mr. Emilio Juan Gracia Bruguera, Chief of His Majesty's Military Staff. Mrs. Raquel Yosti Alvarez, Undersecretary for Research. Mrs. Teresa Riesco Alcaide, Undersecretary for Innovation. Mr. Alfonso Sanz Portoles, Diplomatic Counselor of the Royal Household. Mrs. Raquel Gomez Cambronero Alvarez, Director of European Affairs, Ministry for Foreign Affairs. Mr. José Manuel Zuleta y Alejandro, Duque de Abrantes, Chief of Staff of Her Majesty the Queen. Mr. Miguel Ángel Reyes Alarcón, Chief of Security Department, Royal Household. Mr. Fernando Francisco de Litao Cuesta, Director of Protocol Department, Royal Household. Mrs. Maria Peña Mateos, CEO, Spanish Trade and Investment Agency. Mrs. Maria Sebastián de Enrique García de la Peña, Director of Protocol Department, Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Mr. José Bayón, CEO of ENISA, Spanish National Agency for Innovation. Mr. Diego Martínez Bellido, Chief of Staff of the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Mr. Julio Pastor Bayón, Director of Information and Public Diplomacy. Mr. Ricardo Martínez Murillo, Director, Instituto Cajal. Mr. Josep Lovera Serrano, Chief of Staff of the Minister for Science and Innovation. Mr. Guzmán Palacios Hernández, Director for Cultural and Scientific Affairs. Mr. Cristian Geldran Kuhl, Deputy Director of Protocol Department. Mr. Martín Javier Pérez Jiménez, Senior Advisor of the Protocol Department. Mr. David Sanchez Paunero, Deputy Director of Information and Press Department. Mr. Antonio Garamendi Lecanda, President of the Spanish Confederation of Business Associations. Mrs. Luisa Allí, Co-Director of the Spanish-Swedish Chamber of Commerce. Mr. José Luis Bonet Ferrer, President of the Spanish Chamber of Commerce. Mr. Andrés Ariscoreta García, CEO at Construcciones Auxiliar de Ferrocarriles. Mr. Javier Goñe, CEO of the Grupo Fertiberia. Dr. Andreas Norlén, Speaker of the Riksdag, and Mrs. Helena Norlén. His Excellency Mr. Félix Percel, Marshal of the Realm, and Mrs. Anna Percel. Mr. Stefan Löfven, Prime Minister. His Eminence Bishop Andres Arborelios, Cardinal. Mrs. Ann Linde, Minister for Foreign Affairs. Mrs. Lena Hallengren, Minister of Health and Social Affairs. Mrs. Anna Ekström, Minister for Education. Baroness Christine von Rixenfilke, Mistress of the Rose. Dean of the Diplomatic Corps, His Excellency Mr. Viktor Ivanovich Tatarintsev, Ambassador of the Russian Federation. Mr. Robert Rydberg, State Secretary of Foreign Affairs. Mrs. Paula Carvalho Olofsson, State Secretary to the Minister for EU Affairs. Professor Claes Hultling, Spinalis Foundation. Mrs. Lena Bartelsson, Marshal of the Court. Mr. Karl-Henrik Svanberg, Chair of the Royal Engineering Academy. Mrs. Anna König-Hjelmer, Mayor of Stockholm. Mrs. Cecilia Brink, President of the City Council of Stockholm. Professor Sigrid Karlsson, President of the Royal Institute of Technology. Mr. Vidar Helgesen, Executive Director of the Nobel Foundation. Mr. Jakob Wallenberg, Executive Chair of Investor. Ambassador Maria Cristina Lopez, Chief of Protocol. Ambassador Lars Hjalmar Wider. Mr. Sven-Erik Österberg, County Governor of Stockholm. Mr. Marcus Wallenberg, Chairman of SED. Mr. Kenneth Forslund, Chair, Committee on Foreign Affairs. Mr. Ingvar Mansson, Secretary General of the Riksdag. Mrs. Erika Lanner, CEO and Museum Director at the Nobel Prize Museum. Mr. Jan Lindman, Keeper of the Pretty Purse. Mr. Fredrik Geitling, Executive Vice President at Ericsson. Mr. Jan Larsson, President and CEO of Business Sweden. Mr. Lars Hjelmered, Chair, Committee on Industry and Trade. Professor Felix Jonsson, Department of Space, Earth and Environment, Energy and Technology. Mr. Jan-Olof Jacke, CEO, Confederation of Swedish Enterprises. Mrs. Sarah Massour, Chair at Wallenberg Artificial Intelligence Autonomous Systems Software Program. WASP. Mrs. Anna Borg, President and CEO at Vattenfall. Professor Anna Lindstad, Head of the Clinical Genetics Diagnostics Laboratory at the Caroline Institute. Mr. Anders Olausson, Chairman at the National Center of Competence for Rare Diseases. Mrs. Karin Wallensten, State Secretary to the Prime Minister. Professor Jonas Mårtensson, Director of the Integrated Transport Research Lab. Mrs. Annie Lööf, Party Leader of the Centre Party. Mr. Johan Schülenstierna, Chair of the Swedish Climate Policy Council. Countess Anna Hamilton, First Lady of the Court. Lieutenant General Jan Sadestrand, Chief of His Majesty's Military Staff. Mr. Göran Littell, Marshal of the Court.
Thank you. Gracias.
And now it's cameras down, please. Cameras down. No filming now.
Visit to which, together with the Royal Technology Mission, where we were shown some remarkable example of Spanish engineering. And this is the second Spanish state visit that we have received. The last time was in 1979, when your parents, His Majesty King Juan Carlos and Her Majesty Queen Sofia, visited us. And we have looked very much forward to be able to welcome you now. Already as early in 1651, Queen Christina sent the first Swedish envoy to Madrid, set to facilitate open trade between our nations. Today, more than 350 years later, Spain and Sweden enjoy close ties in many different areas. Apart from trade, there is also cooperation in science, education, and culture. And the interaction between our nations are multiple and frequent, at the political level as well as between our people. Spain is the first tourist destination for Swedes, and as many as 100,000 Swedes have made Spain their home as a base permanently, or during the winter part of the Swedish winter. They think it's pretty cold here. Furthermore, Spanish is the most popular third country language among Swedish pupils. At the same time, it is very rewarding to see that many Spanish students have decided to pursue their higher education at the Swedish universities. So the bonds between our two countries is also reflected in the history of our families. Your Majesty, in 1927, my great-grandfather Gustav V traveled to Spain to visit your great-grandfather King Alfonso XIII. And next year, King Alfonso visits Stockholm, where he acquired a beautiful villa at the Royal Park of Djurgården, formerly the home of the King Gustav V's younger brother, Prince Carl. The villa has since served as the residence of the Spanish ambassador. King Alfonso, he also brought with him a most magnificent gift, a large saffron-colored carpet with some rose pattern. It is placed in our grand living room of Drottningholm Palace, where the Queen and we are living. So, with its strong and beautiful colors, it reminds me every day of our long and standing friendship. And Gustav V also had another brother, Prince Eugene, who was a very gifted painter and artist at those days. On his way to King Alfonso's enthronement in 1902, the prince first traveled to Andalusia together with the Swedish painter Anders Zorn. And Zorn's painting, or Zorn's motifs at those days, are now today among the most well-known in the Swedish art history. The Spanish painter Sorolla was a good friend and a colleague of Zorn. And in November 1991, nearly 30 years ago, your mother, Her Majesty the Queen Sophie of Spain, and Queen Silvia together inaugurated the exhibition Zorn and Sorolla from Two Seas at the National Museum here in Stockholm. Your Majesty, right now our nations and economies face a period of hopefully recovery from the pandemic. But the past summer saw extreme weather in many parts of Europe, including Spain and Sweden. And these events highlight the need of transition to more sustainable and resilient societies. And this presents us with the challenges, both also with the opportunities for innovation and development. So the close ties between our nations and people lay the foundations for cooperation, solidarity, and for solving problems together. So during this important visit, we will pay attention to some areas where our countries already have successful collaboration and exchange, and where there is a great potential to develop further. Your Majesty, your visit manifests the close bond between our countries. It also lays the ground for further cooperation and progress. Once again, it is my great pleasure to extend to you a warmly welcome to Sweden and to this evening's dinner at the Royal Palace in Stockholm. To Your Majesty, to the continued friendship between our two houses, and to the happiness and prosperity of the people of Spain, I now propose a toast.
Ministers, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to first express our sincere thanks to Your Majesty and Queen Silvia, to the royal family, and to all those present here tonight for their affectionate welcome on our state visit to the Kingdom of Sweden. After several postponements, some formal, some informal, due to the pandemic mainly, it is truly a joy to be here in Stockholm and share this grand evening with you. We fulfill at last our long wish to visit Sweden. Today, the Queen and I wholeheartedly hope that this trip will serve as an expression of the special friendship that brings even closer our two countries. Geographically distant at the north and south of Europe, but united by the same values and permanent principles. I do appreciate, Your Majesty, your mention of so many instances in which we're bound together, not only for national interests, but also for particularly family ties. Indeed, Spain and Sweden share the fundamental democratic principles and values that lay at the foundation of today's Europe. We are both proud of our institutions based on the rule of law and of our inclusive societies where human rights are protected and equal and fair opportunities are offered to all, notwithstanding social, economic, or gender differences. This shared understanding is also the basis of our joint actions at the international level. In these difficult times, we both have reaffirmed our commitment to strengthen multilateralism, since we believe it is the principal way, often the only way, to find effective and lasting solutions to the global challenges we all currently face, especially, for example, in the field of environmental protection and the fight against climate change, or against future pandemics like COVID-19, which we still have not totally defeated. Spain and Sweden firmly place their trust in international organizations as the most appropriate framework to deal with pressing and multifaceted challenges that require international cooperation and solidarity to find viable and successful solutions. We are both strong advocates of world peace. We have joined forces and launched the Stockholm Initiative with the aim to promote nuclear disarmament and the strengthening of the NPT, the Non-Proliferation Treaty, which is up for its next review conference in 2022. Our commitment to cooperate in the international sphere is particularly evident in Europe, our continent, at a especially complex time, where we see many doubts arise and a new air of mistrust lurking around. At the EU, Spain and Sweden not only sit side by side at the Council, but also work together to build a strong, democratic, prosperous, and just Europe. However, we also need a Europe closer to its citizens, one that leaves nobody behind and looks out for the most vulnerable. A Europe that upholds solidarity as its true hallmark. Both our countries share as well the view of an open economy with free and fair trade in a global market that is increasingly competitive. Our global companies, many of them world leaders in their respective fields, are at the forefront of knowledge and cutting-edge technologies in numerous sectors. This should invite us to seek synergies and find ways to cooperate, especially in third markets. We also have agreed on the need to put in place all the mechanisms and tools to guarantee a prompt recovery of our economic growth rates in the aftermath of the pandemic. We know that this is something that we can only achieve soundly by betting hard on scientific research, technological development, and innovation. These are three essential ingredients to maintain competitiveness at a global level, but even more so to take us into a new phase of a smarter, cleaner, and more inclusive European economy that can serve as an example and proof of our will to harmonize our interests with those of the rest of the world. Your Majesties, I would finally like to refer to human ties that have been the backbone of our bilateral relationship for decades, even above the political and economic ones. Tourism, as you mentioned, is one of the most powerful instruments to promote mutual knowledge and rapprochement between people. In the case of our two countries, for several decades, it is actually at the heart of an unprecedented intensity of exchanges seen in history. Next year marks 65 years since the first charter flight of Swedish tourists to the Canary Islands. And that was organized in 1957, a milestone that would open the way for many millions of Swedish citizens who have since visited Spain. I can think of no better occasion to thank the Swedish people for the trust and affection they have placed in Spain, and to express the hope that in the future, my country will remain first choice for Swedes when traveling abroad for their holidays. However, the interest Swedish people have in our country is not limited to our beautiful towns, monuments, museums, beaches, landscapes, or to food and wine.
It extends itself more and more to our language, to culture, and we feel proud and honored to know that the number of students of Spanish in Sweden has been steadily growing for the last years, and that today, as you also mentioned, it is the most studied optional foreign language in your educational system. I do hope this interest will keep growing, because it will certainly translate into an ever stronger and richer foundation of our relations in all fields. As I emphasize our joy and gratitude for being here tonight and in Sweden, allow me, from the Queen's and my sincere and deep appreciation, allow me to propose a toast. Your Majesty, ladies and gentlemen, to their Majesties, to the Swedish people, and to the greater friendship and cooperation between our two countries. Skål. Salud.